Alright, so in order to make your cup, you have to have a ball of wedged clay, and then you have to decide whether you would like to make a paper towel roll cup, which will come out looking something like this. And you'll need this template, this paper towel roll, to get something that looks kind of like this, could be a little shorter. Or if you would like to make a soup can cup, which will come out something like this. You'll need a soup can and a soup can cup template, okay? And some newsprint. Don't forget your newsprint for either one. All right, so to get this started, what you're going to do first, you're going to take your newsprint and you're going to wrap it around your cup. You can, or your soup can. You can tape it on if you want, or you can just wrap it around and tuck the extra clay in, like so. Okay, set this off to the side. Then the next step is going to be flattening out your clay. So to flatten out the clay, what you want to do is you're going to take your clay, your chunk of clay that you have here, canvas, you want to make sure you have canvas. Get either your yardsticks or your dowel rods. I would like a thin cup, so I would use the smaller 1/4-inch dowel rods. You might want to keep it a little bit thicker if you're not too sure what you're doing or if this is your first time. And then you're just going to kind of pound out the clay. And then you can throw it at an angle. You have to hold on to the canvas. And the whole time you're doing this, you want to keep in mind what shape you're going to need in the end, which is something that is this long. Hopefully you have enough clay left over that you can cut out a shape for your base, so you don't have to recut it. So once you get to that point, I'm ready to roll it out. So to roll it out, what you want to do is dowel rods, you want to make sure they're close to the clay, not out like this. If they're out like this, your rolling pin isn't going to hit them, and it's not going to get the thickness of the clay correct. So out like this, and then you can take your rolling pin. I usually start in the middle and roll forward and then back. And remember, you want to roll and then pick it up and flip it. And then roll it again. So every time I roll it, I pick it up and flip it, just to make sure that it releases off of the canvas and it helps it to move a little bit easier. See, there will be air. If there's air bubbles, they might pop, which is good. That's what you want. You don't want any air bubbles in the clay. And you want to, a couple times, just check to make sure that this is as wide and as long as what you need. So this is good. Next thing, if you want to add texture, now's the time to do it. So I'm going to pick this and flip it again. Be careful if your clay is starting to rip. You have to be careful as you're moving it. So for the texture, what I'm going to do is, there's several things you can use for texture. I'm going to use this. And my clay is already pretty thin, so I'm going to be careful. I don't want to get it thinned out too much more. Put this on here. I'm going to use my old tennis shoe. There's lots of different things you can use for texture. I'm going to pick it up and flip it again. I can move these out. If it stretches a little bit, that's okay. Then I'm ready to go to my template. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my template. You want to start at the end. You don't want to put it right in the middle because then you're not going to have enough for a base. What I'm going to do is cut around the template. So you're going to use your clay tool, your teal clay tool. It's up there on the center table. And I'm going to cut this out. This extra clay that's here, if it's soft, keep it. We can reuse it. If it's too dry, you can make it into slip or throw it away. Just don't mix it in with the plastic clay. That's very bad. I have this wonderful large chunk that I'm going to save for my base. So I'm going to take this and set it on my board, just like this. It's okay if it hangs over a little bit. Set that off to the side. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Hump Cup Template. I'm going to put it back in the cup template box. Make sure you put it back in the folder. Make sure you put it back in the correct folder. Don't put it in the box folder. It drives me crazy. All right, so at this point here, what I want to do, I want to double check, make sure that this is going to fit my cylinder support, which is the soup can cup. So, and it does. It's a little long actually, so I could actually trim it up some. So anytime I go to trim, I want to make sure that I use a ruler. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this at an angle. I'm going to kind of bevel it. And then I'm going to go to this end, and I'm going to bevel this end some too. I'm going to bevel it the other way. So this one's going out that way, so I held the clay tool like this and cut it. This side I'm going to do the same thing. Okay. Pick up that little extra clay there. Now, the next thing that we want to do is we're going to roll this out some. So I'm going to roll this. The more time that you spend rolling this out and getting this flattened, the better off your project's going to be. You can even go like this to kind of fold it out. But when you do that, I'm going to pick this up and make sure that it releases, which it does. Anytime you do that, you can see that it kind of squishes out on the ends here. You want to make sure that you take a ruler and your clay tool and trim it up. The more that you trim, the more precise your cup is going to be, which means the better your project is going to turn out. So I line the ruler up there and then just trim it a little. You don't want to take too much off. And do the same thing over here. And trim it. All right. Now, next step. We're going to score and slip the two ends together. So I'm going to score this side on this one. I'm going to be very careful whenever you're doing this. So I'm going to score here, scratch to attach. That's what the scoring is. Take my slip. Slip it on both ends. You don't need quite this much slip, but if there's too much, you can always wipe it off. I'm going to take my cylinder support here, which is the soup can. Take your time, get it on there pretty good. And I'm going to very carefully roll this around. Hopefully the scored and slip parts meet up together, which they do here, which is good. And roll it back and forth a little bit. Okay, now once you get to this point, you're going to have a seam. Okay, so what you can do is you can smooth it over with your fingers. You can use a rib to smooth it over. Now when you're smoothing it over, it gets rid of some of the texture, which is okay, because you can always go back and put it back on. Now at this point, you don't want to trim the ends just yet. You want to wait until this sits up some before you trim the ends. Okay, so smooth that out, and then once it's smooth, I'm going to take my shoe and put some of that texture back in it. Now if you don't want texture, you don't have to have texture, that's fine. Now at this point, we need to let this sit up some. So I'm going to take my board that has my base on it, and I'm going to put my cylinder on there for my cup. Then you want to bag it up. So you take your bag, everything's on the board. You got to be very careful with this so it doesn't roll around. You could flip it the other way if you want, but I'm going to leave it like this. My clay's still pretty soft. Got to be careful. And then I'm going to wrap it around. And then you're going to twist it twice at the end and flip it underneath. Then when this sits up a little bit and it's leather hard, then we can trim it and assemble it together and put the reinforcement coils in.